What happens when a sci-fi show becomes so strange, so bold, and so ahead of its time that the executives themselves start to panic? Back in the 1960s, a handful of shows didn't just push boundaries, they bulldozed them. In the middle of TV comfort zones, these creators slipped in eerie ideas, wild visuals, and questions nobody expected. And if you think you know the full story, stay close. Something unexpected waits deeper inside this list. Number 12, The Time Tunnel, 1966-1967. Imagine a show that promised viewers a journey through every era of human history without ever leaving a television studio. That was The Time Tunnel, a series so ambitious that ABC executives were nervous from the moment they saw the pilot. The setup was simple at first glance. Two scientists fall into a giant machine and are tossed from one moment in time to the next. But behind the scenes, nothing about this show was simple. Every episode required new sets, massive costume changes, and historical recreations that stretched the budget far beyond what the network expected. ABC wanted excitement, not a financial avalanche. Producers recycled sets, used leftover props from other shows, and relied on clever lighting to hide what they couldn't afford. But even with those tricks, the show was expensive enough to worry everyone upstairs. What really startled executives, though, was the tone. This wasn't a light adventure. It dropped viewers into real historical events that carried heavy emotional weight. The network worried audiences weren't ready for a series that showed the past with such intensity. Yet fans loved it. They tuned in every week to see where the tunnel would throw its heroes next. In the end, The Time Tunnel lasted only one season, but the idea of blending science fiction with bold historical stories inspired future shows for decades. Even today, its style echoes through every time travel series that dares to be bigger than its budget. Number 11, Journey to the Unknown, 1968-1969. Journey to the Unknown arrived quietly, but nothing about it stayed quiet for long. Executives expected a simple anthology series, something safe and easy to schedule. What they got instead was a collection of unsettling psychological stories wrapped in sci-fi ideas that left viewers feeling like they had stared into something they were not meant to see. Each episode stood alone, often ending with a twist that made audiences rethink everything they had watched. Some stories were eerie enough that ABC questioned if viewers would accept them. The tone wasn't loud or flashy. It was slow, creeping, and unsettling in a way that caught executives off guard. They wanted thrilling entertainment. What they got felt closer to a mirror held up to people's deepest fears. The visual style pushed boundaries for the time. Directors used strange camera angles, long silences, and shadows that seemed alive. ABC sent notes asking for less intensity more than once, but the creative team kept pushing. They believed sci-fi could be thoughtful and mysterious without losing its edge. Even though Journey to the Unknown lasted only one season, its influence is surprisingly large. It proved television audiences were smarter than networks assumed. It carved out space for future shows to explore darker ideas with confidence. And while it may not be as well known as other 1960s titles, its fingerprints are all over the genre's evolution. Number 10, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, 1964-1968. From the very first episode, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea felt bigger than television should allow. The series focused on a futuristic submarine and its crew as they explored deep oceans, strange creatures, and experimental technology. But the part executives didn't expect was how visually intense the show would become. Irwin Allen, the creative mind behind the series, believed viewers deserved real spectacle. Even with a modest budget, he pushed for dramatic sets, elaborate miniatures, and special effects that were rare for the era. Every week brought new undersea scenes that required creativity far beyond what ABC anticipated. Executives worried they had signed up for a project that was impossible to sustain. But what truly surprised them was the tone shift. As the seasons continued, the show drifted from adventure towards something more mysterious and eerie. Episodes introduced odd, glowing creatures, strange energies, and unknown forces lurking in the deep. Some scenes were so intense that ABC received letters from parents asking why the show aired evenings. At the same time, older viewers became devoted fans, drawn to the show's unpredictable style. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea proved that sci-fi could be visually ambitious long before digital effects existed. Its influence is still visible in every underwater adventure series and every sci-fi show that mixes exploration with mystery. Number 9, UFO, 1969-1970. When UFO premiered near the end of the 1960s, executives immediately realized they had something unusual on their hands. This was no bright, cheerful space adventure. It was a serious, stylish sci-fi thriller about a secret organization protecting Earth from mysterious visitors. But the part that executives struggled with wasn't the plot. It was the tone. The show carried a tense atmosphere that rarely let up. Every episode felt like a warning. The music, the lighting, and even the futuristic costumes created a world that felt both sleek and unsettling. Some broadcasters in Europe postponed the first episodes because they felt felt the mood might be too intense for viewers. Others edited scenes that felt too heavy for regular programming hours. Behind the scenes, the production team took huge risks. They used bold color schemes, new filming techniques, and practical effects that pushed studios beyond their comfort levels. From glowing landscapes to eerie spacecraft designs, every frame looked different from the typical sci-fi of the era. Executives didn't always know what to make of it, but viewers definitely noticed. UFO only lasted one season, but its style shaped future science fiction in a major way. The show proved that sci-fi could be sleek, serious, and visually daring without losing its emotional core. Its legacy carried directly into later productions from the same team, including Space 1999, which borrowed many of its ideas. Number 8. Lost in Space, 1965-1968. Most people today remember Lost in Space as a fun family adventure, but its early development was anything but light. When CBS executives saw the original pilot, they were stunned. The show was darker, more dramatic, and far more intense than they expected. There were long stretches of quiet tension, eerie landscapes, and a storyline that leaned closer to true science fiction than family entertainment. Executives worried it would be too much for viewers. They asked for rewrites, reshoots, and a lighter approach. The creative team agreed, but even after the tone shifted, the show kept traces of its original ambition. Strange planets, mysterious beings, and unexpected twists filled each episode. And at the center of it all was the Robinson family, constantly navigating a universe filled with the unknown. Lost in Space pushed television effects forward. The robot became iconic, the spacecraft designs felt futuristic, and the show's practical effects team worked miracles with their limited resources. CBS may have wanted something safer, but viewers connected with the show a charm and creativity. The series became a cultural touchstone, influencing everything from later family sci-fi adventures to modern reinterpretations. Even decades later, those early Lost episodes remind viewers just how bold the original concept truly was. Hidden beneath the playful tone is a show that once frightened its own network with how far it wanted to go. Number 7. The Invaders, 1967-1968. The Invaders wasn't just another sci-fi drama. It felt like a warning broadcast straight into American living rooms. The show followed an architect who discovers that mysterious beings are blending in with everyday people. What alarmed executives wasn't the idea itself. It was how disturbingly real the show made everything feel. The eerie silence, the slow reveals, and the constant sense of not knowing who to trust left some executives wondering if viewers would find it too unsettling. The production leaned into paranoia. Shadows were sharper, conversations shorter, and almost every scene carried a quiet tension. ABC worried people might take the idea too seriously, especially during a decade filled with political unease. To soften things, they suggested adding more action, but the creative team kept the show as a signature style. They believed the fear came not from big moments, but from the creeping sense that danger could be anywhere. The Invaders influenced countless later shows that explored hidden threats and identity mysteries. It set the stage for future stories where the unknown wasn't distant or dramatic. It was calm, quiet, and much closer than viewers expected. The series didn't last long, but its legacy continues in every sci-fi thriller that asks one dangerous question. What if the world around you is not what it seems? Number 6. Doctor Who, 1963. When Doctor Who launched in late 1963, BBC executives expected a simple educational show wrapped in a light sci-fi shell. Instead, they got something unpredictable, imaginative, and at times, alarmingly intense. The producers introduced a lead character who could travel anywhere in time and space, opening the door to stories that went far beyond safe entertainment. Then came the Daleks. These strange, rolling machines with robotic voices appeared in the show's second story, and they changed everything. Children reacted instantly, hiding behind sofas while still refusing to miss a single episode. BBC received letters describing both excitement and fear, and executives wondered if they had pushed things too far, but the public loved it. The Daleks became a sensation, turning Doctor Who into a cultural giant. Behind the scenes, the crew created incredible effects using everyday items, clever lighting, and inventive sound design. They routinely stretched their budget by transforming small sets into alien worlds through smart camera work. BBC had never seen a team take so many creative risks or push a children's program into such bold territory. Doctor Who became one of the most influential sci-fi shows ever made. It proved television didn't need huge budgets to inspire imagination. What mattered was storytelling that dared to be different, and few shows dared as much as this one. Number 5. Star Trek, the original series, 1966-1969. Star Trek may be beloved today, but in the 1960s, it was a constant source of nervousness for NBC executives. The show's creator wanted to tell stories about exploration, exploration, unity, and ideas far ahead of their time. But to NBC, it sometimes looked like a risk that might never find an audience. The show mixed futuristic concepts with thoughtful commentary, something rare for primetime television. Executives pushed for more action, brighter sets, and simpler storylines. Despite the network S-notes, the writers continued to explore questions about humanity, technology, and the future. The debate behind the scenes was ongoing. Should sci-fi be simple fun, or should it challenge viewers? Star Trek chose the second path. One episode in particular, featuring a historic first for television, caused concern inside NBC. But creator and cast believed in the moment, and it aired. While the show never reached huge ratings during its original run, it built a loyal following that refused to let it fade. Fans wrote letters, held gatherings, and fought to keep it alive. Star Trek's ambitious sets, miniature effects, and imaginative makeup brought space adventures to life long before digital tools existed. The show's ideas became its real legacy. It encouraged audiences to think big, dream beyond the familiar, and imagine a world shaped by curiosity instead of fear. Years later, NBC realized the show they once doubted had changed television forever. Number 4. The Prisoner, 1967-1968. The Prisoner wasn't just a show. It was a shockwave. Executives expected a stylish spy series. What they received instead was a surreal psychological journey that challenged everything viewers assumed about television. Its creator wanted to explore identity, freedom, and control through a bold, dreamlike style. The result was a show that felt years ahead of its time. Executives didn't know what to make of it. Scenes shifted from calm beaches to unsettling chases without warning. The music felt unusual, the sets looked strange, and the story left viewers wondering what was real. When they previewed episodes, some executives reportedly questioned whether audiences would understand any of it. But the creative team pushed forward. The Prisoner introduced a mysterious coastal village where people were known only by numbers. The main character constantly tried to escape, only to discover new layers of control. It was unsettling in a quiet, thoughtful way, and some stations aired it cautiously. Others hesitated. It didn't behave like traditional television, and that made it unforgettable. Though it lasted only one season, the show influenced decades of storytelling. Modern series that experiment with identity, memory, and psychological tension owe a huge debt to this bold 1960s masterpiece. Its final episode is still discussed today, proof that The Prisoner didn't just entertain viewers. It challenged them. Number 3. The Twilight Zone, 1959-1964. The Twilight Zone arrived before the new decade began, but most of its defining run shaped the early 1960s. CBS executives expected light fantasy stories. Instead, they got a series filled with thoughtful twists, eerie ideas, and messages that reached far deeper than anyone predicted. Each episode felt like a miniature movie, created with care and a bold understanding of what television could be. Some early scripts startled executives. They questioned whether viewers were ready for stories that explored uncomfortable truths through imaginative scenarios. But the show's creator believed that science fiction could deliver powerful messages without losing its emotional core. That confidence led to episodes that remain classics today. The production team worked miracles on a limited budget. They reused sets, transformed props, and used lighting to shape entire worlds. Every episode carried a distinct mood, blending calm narration with sudden surprises. Viewers didn't just watch. They thought, wondered, and sometimes felt a lingering chill long after the credits ended. Executives worried about tone, budget, and ideas that seemed too bold for television. Yet, The Twilight Zone became one of the most influential series in history. It showed networks that viewers could handle stories that blended imagination with deeper meaning. Without it, modern sci-fi and fantasy television would look very different. Number 2. Voyage added. Show One Step Beyond, 1950s-1960s. One Step Beyond began as a paranormal anthology series, but its early 1960s episodes slipped deep into sci-fi territory. ABC thought they were commissioning a gentle exploration of unusual events. Instead, they received a series that blurred the line between the possible and the unknown, creating stories that lingered long after they ended. Executives grew uneasy when they realized how seriously the show treated its subject matter. The tone was calm, yet mysterious. The visuals subtle but unsettling. There were no bright colors or flashy effects. Instead, the show relied on atmosphere. Long shadows, quiet rooms, and strange coincidences made each episode feel like a discovery waiting to unfold. The narration added another layer. Delivered with confidence, it invited viewers to question what they believed. Some episodes leaned closer to sci-fi than viewers expected, exploring time slips, unusual abilities, and unexplained encounters. ABC wondered whether audiences would embrace such ambiguous storytelling, yet the public loved it. The show became known for its thoughtful pacing and quietly intense moments. It proved that sci-fi didn't need spectacle to spark curiosity. It could do so with mood, mystery, and suggestion. Many later shows adopted this style, building entire episodes around possibility rather than clear answers. Number 1. The The Outer Limits, 1963-1965. The Outer Limits wasn't just another sci-fi show. It was the series that made ABC executives sit forward, stare at the screen, and quietly wonder if they had agreed to something far more intense than planned. From the first episode, it became clear this show was different. The lighting was darker, the music sharper, and the creature designs were so unusual that some executives requested private screenings just to understand what they were about to air. The creative team treated every episode like a small experiment. They used shadows to hide budget limits, unusual camera angles to create discomfort, and quiet moments that made viewers lean in. Even the opening narration felt like a command from beyond, something television had never tried before. Audiences didn't just watch. They felt like they were being pulled into a world slightly out of balance. With practical effects built from simple materials, the show created visuals that were ahead of their time. People wrote letters asking how those images were possible on regular television. Years later, its influence is everywhere. Nearly every series that blends mystery, imagination, and eerie atmosphere owes something to The Outer Limits, the show that pushed television into a new dimension. The 1960s were full of creativity, but these shows went further. They dared to be strange, bold, and unpredictable, even when executives weren't ready for them. Each one changed TV in its own way, opening doors for the stories we enjoy today. If you discovered something new in this list, share your thoughts, hit that subscribe button, and pass this video along. And remember, the next groundbreaking idea might already be out there, waiting to surprise everyone.